Hello there. This is Being God's Obedient Servant channel. And if you're new to this, it's a Bible study channel where I go through the Bible in order as it is, from book to book, chapter to chapter, and verse from verse. God commands that if you preach or teach the Word, you're to teach all of the Word, not just part of it. That's why I don't skip anything. And that also tells us that we're not supposed to skip anything as we learn the Bible, because all of it's important. So, we're starting a new book, going into the book of Job. And I don't know if how many of you know of the book of Job, but the book of Job, the reason for this book's primarily to teach us to stay the course. I've used that term before. But to always stay with God, regardless of what bad comes into your life. Job's always, the example of that. Anytime people talk about receiving hard times, says, well, what about Job? But we all have our own problems in life we have to deal with. Physical ailments, financial, mental, emotional, job security, whichever, whatever. There's lots of problems in the world. Some of us have a little of all of them. Some of us don't really have any of them, but maybe one or two. Those are the ones a lot of us are jealous of, because it's like, I said, well, I got problems too. I'm like, yeah, but you don't really have all the other ones. You got 1 out of 10. But yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right on in here and get started. So Job's a good book. Yeah, as I said before, its primary thing is to teach us to resist Satan, to resist from walking away from God, because the Bible says even in the beginning we will have trials and tribulations. So, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job. And that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there was born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. Now, what we have to know from God's teachings is, if you have lots, then you have lots to lose. That's what we learn from Jesus. That's why we're commanded to live a humble life. We're to not have much in our life. We're actually commanded kind of to live a pilgrim's life, be ready to move at a moment's notice. Well, I didn't say a moment's notice, but if God tells us to relocate somewhere, we're to do it. A lot of people fight that part because they say, well, my kids have friends here. Kids can make new friends. Well, I got a good job here, so a job's just a job. The whole thing is witnessing to others and doing God's work. That's the most important thing. We have a lot of people have a hard time letting go of certain things that they've become comfortable with. I know a lot of people that they'll stay in a bad situation in life just because they're used to it. That's the little rut in life that they've become accustomed to, and they'll stay with it. A lot of times we don't realize God wants better for us, but He can't give us better if we don't obey Him and do as He says. That's why sometimes we have to let go of things God doesn't want us to hold on to, because it's going to start pulling us from Him and bringing us back to the world. Anyways, verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feastings were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned, and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So from this we also learn, you're going to be learning a lot of things in life that a lot of people want to cuss God about things. I've done this myself, so I know it's very easy to do. But we got to forget, we tend to forget where our true problems come from. But here, it's letting you know that Satan is on the earth. He can go up to be with God. In a sense, he can go to earth. He can go all around the earth. He can pretty much go almost anywhere he wants to at this time. But let's continue on, verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? I'm sorry. Verse 8. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God, and escheweth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? And so Satan knows that Job's had a blessed life. This one says, God says that Job fears the Lord. And Satan's whole thing is, well, you've never given him a reason to fear you, so why would he fear you? So it's like, it's hard to deal with things that you've never really experienced. It's kind of the lesson from that little part. And it's true for everybody. If you haven't experienced certain things, you're not really going to know much about them. Anyways, verse 10. Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. So here also is the teaching to this, that we are no longer under, now that we're under grace. And in Old Testament, when you did good works, great works for God, and you obeyed the law and everything, you would have a blessed life. In New Testament times, people can have a blessed life and be wicked. And people can have a cursed life and be godly. There's a big difference between Old and New Testament in that. But there's also with the, I've talked about it before, how in today's time, under New Testament, under grace, God only wants those to come to him that want to be with him, not ones that just wants an easy life or, this, that, and the other. To have a blessed life on earth, and then also have, be blessed in paradise, in heaven afterwards. So a lot of times we have the life of Job a little bit today, especially the the more you follow God, a lot of times the harder your life starts to get. And it's, in a sense, it's like you're being tested all the time. Like, I've gotten mad at God for that, because I sit there and says, God, I don't want to be tested. But trust me, if you're going through something, it's because God needs you to go through something, because He's preparing you for something else. But I said, everybody's got a different walk with God, a different job that He has for you. My job's different than yours will be. But if you don't know God and you're not a Christian, well, spoiler alert, that I've said it before. I've said it, I'll keep saying it. It says, salvation is free, but it's not cheap. Living a Christian life is not easy. And salvation was not cheap to receive. It cost Jesus His life. He had to sacrifice His life and go through a torturous death to give us salvation. Also, we can have the free gift of salvation. Anyways, continue on verse 11. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So now God's given Satan permission to touch everything in Job's life minus Job. Can't touch Job. And in today's time, Satan has, up to a certain point, allowed to touch our lives. That's why a lot of people today think they're being blessed because they have finances, they have a big house, fancy car, and this, that, and the other and stuff. And a lot of times, those are things to keep them complacent and not working for God. And Satan will bless them financially so they think that they're doing good and don't change. If you're having a great life, trust me, that means Satan's not messing with you. He likes you where you're at. If you got a life that's getting the opposite of that, and you're serving God as best as you can and everything else, Satan's really working on you, because he doesn't want you there following God. He wants you back in the world, because he wants you to suffer. He hates you. He hates all mankind. He wants us to suffer the lake of fire with him. Anyways, let's continue on. Verse 13. And there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabaeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The fire of God has fallen from heaven and hath burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, The Chaldeans made out 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshipped, and said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Now remember that part right there, charged God foolishly. God does not mind if we question things. I mean, we are to know. We have a right to know what's kind of going on. God may tell us and may not tell us. We may not be ready to hear what he's got to say about certain things. But we can question God about things going on. And here's another thing that's even Jesus says, we're talking about live a humble life. He says, naked he came into the world, naked he'll go out. So he's lost his building, he's lost his children, he's lost his livestock, he's lost his servants. He only has a few things left. That's a lot to take in, a lot to lose all at one time in one day. And he still chose to worship God. It's a very strong man, I tell you that much, because I know I would fail in that, and words would be coming out of my mouth, and none of them would be godly at that time. I've had far less happen in my life, and I have failed. So I know I'm nowhere near as good as Job, but the thing is, I still try. Let's continue on here. Chapter 2. Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect man and an upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. But put forth thine hand now, and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thine hand, but save his life. So went Satan forth from the presence of the Lord, and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself withal, and he sat down among the ashes. So a potsherd is like a piece of pottery, and he would scrape himself, and the ashes would soothe because the boils would leak. And they used ashes for a lot of healing stuff. They used it for mourning, covering themselves in ashes and dirt and stuff for mourning, stuff like that. But ashes are things that's already been burnt, so it's been purified. It'll help. It's like using cornstarch and stuff of that nature to clot wounds, kind of like. Could be used for the same thing in that. But yeah, anyways, verse 9. Then said his wife unto him, Dost thou still retain thy integrity? Curse God and die. Such a great wife right there. It's like, why do you still hold on to this? Just go ahead and curse God and let him kill you. That's from his wife. Yeah. Verse 10. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the foolish women speaketh. What? Shall we receive good at the hand of God, and shall we not receive evil? And all this did Job sin. All this did not Job sin with his lips. Now, when it says not sin with the lips, I mean he didn't speak anything, but inside, he probably wasn't feeling too good. Probably saying a lot of stuff internally. I know I would be. Any of us would be. Verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that come upon him, they came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. That's a hard one to say. Naamathite. For they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. And they rent every one his mantle, and sprinkled dust upon their heads towards heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and none spake a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great. So yeah, he's had so many sores and everything on him, they couldn't even recognize him. Yeah, that would be quite painful. I've had quite a few times in my life injuries and stuff, military and everything else in life, where you hurt too much to even be able to sleep. Like now, I got severe back injuries. So I'm gonna say severe back injuries, but I got back injuries from the military, destroyed cartilage, degenerative disc disorder, stuff like that. After you walk with a cane, sciatic nerve issues, this, that, and the other. I tell you right now, I don't sleep really good at all without having medication. I'm on nerve blockers, and I have to take a certain dose at night so I can get tired enough to even go to sleep and be able to ignore the pain enough to doze off. So I kind of know what that feels like, and that's what I know. That's the reason why I get pretty short-tempered from time to time, is because I'm already in pain enough, and then it doesn't take much to set me off anymore, because I already got. It's like that old saying, the straw that broke the camel's back. I know it's I shouldn't really have an excuse to it, but I'm saying I know what's affecting me, and so I can kind of relate to some of this about sitting around and being in pain. But then, of course, my wife left and everything else in between, so it's just me and my pets now, so I got to try to do everything by myself, which adds to more problems. And when I try to do yard work and do housework and everything else, it makes the more I have to do things, the more my back hurts me, and the more the nerves get pinched and everything, causing more pain. From my waistline down, I've got neuropathy. It's all sorts of weird stuff now. So I'm just telling y'all, take care of your spinal cords. You only get one of them, and unlike the movie Avatar, there is no replacement. You can't get it rebuilt, and having metal hardware installed in your back means you can't move. So it may help relieve the pain, but then you have very limited mobility. But yeah, I said, in that little department, I can probably feel his pain there. But I said, it's I said he's still a stronger man than me, because I still fail a lot. When it just be little things that can set me off sometimes. Just dropping something, then I know I got to bend down to pick it up, and I'm already hurting to begin with. It's a a lot of times I'm now learning that my anger is letting me know that my physical abilities is limited. It's like, when I start noticing myself getting short fused, quick tempered, it's like, oh, my back's hurting me. I need to go rest and stuff. But sometimes in a task I'm doing, I can't stop. I can't stop the task. I got to finish the task, then I can go rest. And it's aggravating to be in that situation because sometimes when I got to go rest, it may take a couple of days. But yeah, it's just take care of yourself. It's so in that part, I say, pray for me and I'll pray for you. If you will, pray for me that my back doesn't hurt me as much. Maybe God will heal me one day and rebuild the cartilage between my discs to where I don't have these grinding on my nerve problems. Anyways, chapter 3. After this, opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spake and said, well, of course, we know this is now the depression's going to be coming in, that all of us has probably dealt with at some point in time. That's why he's cursing his day. He's going into depression. Lost his children, lost this, that, and the other. Now he's losing his health. Verse 2 again. And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night in which it was said, there is a man-child conceived. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I still get like this today, to where I'm like, why am I even here? No wife, no children, no nothing, can't work anymore. Why am I even here? Now what is this? Yeah, I thought you right now, bad thing in life is to be living and have no purpose. Well, of course, I have purpose with God, spreading the gospel, but, it's, well, for God, that's enough. But for us humans, especially being a man, we got to feel like we're contributing more. But I have to remind myself that it's kind of like the part when the guy has had leprosy and he was told to go dunk himself in the Jordan 7 times. And he's like, there's got to be more to it than that. And he's just all upset. I got to do something more than that. And it's like sometimes God just gives us the simplest tasks and rewards us the most for it. And I got to remember that as well. So maybe one of y'all might need to hear that very same thing. Anyways, continue on verse 3. Oh, sorry. 4. Let that day be darkness. Let not God regard it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death stain it. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. As for that night, let darkness seize upon it. Let it not be joined unto the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be solitary. Let no joyful voice come therein. Let them curse it that curse the day, who are ready to raise up their mourning. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark. Let it look for light, but have none. Neither let it see the dawning of the day, because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb, nor hid sorrow from mine eyes. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet, I should have slept, then had I been at rest. With kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or as in hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants which never saw light. There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together, they hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, and the servant is free from his master. Wherefore is light given to him that is in misery, and life unto the bitter in soul, which long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures, which rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave. Oh, so I'm sorry, that was actually supposed to be in question form. But it's a hard time. It's hard to try to read these with emotions to them a little bit, and then also you get to the end, I'm like, oh, great, wrong punctuation. There's a which rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they can find the grave. Why is light given to a man whose way is hid, and whom God hath hedged in? For my sighing cometh before I eat, and my roarings are poured out like the waters. For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of is come unto me. I was not in safety, neither had I rest, neither was I quiet, yet trouble came. And that's the end of this lesson. His friends are going to be speaking next, so I'm going to hold that to the next lesson, which should be about Friday or Saturday night. They got small chapters. I think there's like 42 chapters in Job, but they're short chapters. But yeah, there's quite a bit to go through on this. And I chatted about things that, well, I said, like it kind of felt upon me to start talking about some things. And so that's why I always kind of teach how God wants me to teach. And if he puts it upon me to start speaking something, I'll do it. As the saying goes, especially being a Christian, I have no shame. I'm not afraid to speak of how my life has become and everything I've gone through. But, as I said, I'm dead serious about that. Take care of your body. You only get one of them. I've lost 8 major careers just to a back injury that has just progressed over the last 20, 30 years. And it's made my life pretty miserable a lot. I've lost every bit of my activities. I used to love to play golf, basketball, all sorts of sports, softball, baseball, blah, blah, blah. I used to bowl. I was in leagues bowling. Used to play billiards a lot. I can't even lean over the table to shoot billiards and stuff. It's, I've lost all of that. I don't get to do none of that no more. I have a heck of a time now just getting up and doing basic routine things. Like I have 3 dogs and I walk them each day. And I don't walk them that far, but I can't anyways. And I do a couple other little exercises each day. Not much of nothing compared to what I used to, and that pretty much takes almost everything out of me for the rest of the day. I make a little meal, and then I rest. That's my day. And yeah. But it's just the way it is. It's one thing you learn in the military is you have to adapt and overcome. You have to address the situation. however your life's going, God wants us to do the same thing. Whichever way our life's going, we just got to stop and address the situation. Do our pros and cons. What's this? What's that? What do I have? What do I don't have? What do I need? What do I may need? Do I need to move forward? Do I need to go backwards a little bit? And it's kind of like that's the life of a man. And we have to learn to navigate life, and sometimes we hit a roadblock. We got to back up until we can find a turn that'll go another direction and go that way. But the one thing also, being a Christian, you also have to follow God in the process of all this. Got to make sure you don't get led astray on that, because the world can do it to you. Like here we learn about Job is, Satan is around us causing problems all the time. And he wants you to be discouraged so you don't follow God, so you become useless. And that's the beauty of God's love. He's like, no, I haven't given up on you. I'm still here waiting for you to shake it off, stand up, and focus on me again and move forward. That's the love of Jesus for us. So, remember to pray. Pray for me. I pray for you. Pray for the world, the lost especially. It's when you know more about the Bible, the end times seems to be coming. The whole part about, the world being able to share stories instantly, how we can communicate around the world was talked about in the Bible over, 2,000, 3,000 years ago in parts of prophecy. It's when the majority of people be lovers of themselves and nothing of God, nothing of their neighbor, not even their family. Children will be, majority disobedient to their parents, hateful, disrespectful. Society be turning that way. It's like, yeah. It's like, it's starting to happen worldwide. That's when you have to really pay attention. It was only happening in a couple of places on the planet. That's one thing. When it's starting to go on worldwide, like almost all of Europe's going through the same stuff. The Asian countries are going through this stuff. Here we are, North and South America, going through the same stuff. It's the Bible prophecies are coming true right before our eyes. So, and we have to remember what Jesus says, be ye ready, for ye not know when the master of the house cometh. You got to be ready to meet the Lord, because when he comes, that's it. You want to be part of the rapture. You do not want to be a part of the trials and tribulations of Armageddon. It's going to be, you think now's bad? It's going to be 100 to 1,000 times worse then. Actually, I'd probably say more than 1,000 times worse then. You don't want to be here for that. And, Jesus gave you the free gift of salvation to where you don't have to. But he can't make you choose him. If you're learning the Bible, that's a step in the right direction if you're not one of his. But when he starts speaking to your heart, starts pulling, he says, hey, come to me, you better accept. Because once he quits knocking on the door of your heart, that's whenever the Bible considers that, saying that that you can't be saved, that you are truly lost. I mean, you can still be saved, but God will no longer call you to Him. You're going to have to go to Him. But it's just said, you don't want to ignore the calling from God when He does call you to Him. Because you don't want to miss that feeling of being blessed with the Holy Spirit. It's a great feeling. To be honest, you'll never feel that good again ever for the rest of your life. You'll be chasing it though. That's the bad thing about being humans, is we are addicted to addictions. When something feels good, we chase that feeling, and then we chase for it to feel good again, and normally nothing ever feels as good as it did the first time. And so you have to watch that as well. But anyways, going in a totally different area. Got the Lord saying, reel it in, back up, reel it in. So, once again, remember to pray. You know, we all need it. We need it for ourselves. We need it for others. Your family needs it. Even if they don't want it, pray for them anyways. They don't. A lot of them don't understand how much they need it. But until next time, God bless. Good night. Goodbye.